Theory C coach do? That's where we're at right now. I said a push-pull, but what does that mean? You know, you're in a unique position as an educator to make a difference in the lives of every single child. But see, you're not always going to get the rewards that you're going to see. Because if you signed up to be a teacher because you wanted to make a difference and you were going to change their lives, well, you don't get the rewards. You don't see that always, so you become discouraged. And when you become discouraged, you lack the motivation. But what's the first thing you have to do is you have to have what we call an autotelic personality. You have to love working with children. That's what motivates you. When you love what you do, you will be passionate about your subject matter. You will become contagious. And then what happens is you will push students to a higher level, increasing the chances of some of them coming back saying, you made a difference in my life. Even though you're making a difference in every child, you don't always get to see that. A push-pull approach is going on this Theory C, meaning that you want every child to get better. You love working with the children. You have excitement. Even if the child is taking your class as an elective, they don't want to be there, you still believe that they want to learn. I had a calculus teacher when I was in college that understood what a coach was. She was a big influence in my life. I had to take Calculus 1 and Calculus 2 to get my undergraduate degree, which isn't a big deal for most people, but I only took geometry and pre-algebra in high school, so calculus is a huge ordeal. So I showed up to Calculus 1, completely lost, found a tutor, scraped by with barely a D the first time around, had to take it a second time, went through the same process, got the same professor, ended up getting a C. And I thought that was tough. Well, I showed up to Calculus 2 that next semester, and my teacher comes flying into the classroom, and she's ripping stuff up on the chalkboard, and she looks at the class, and she just has this glow around her, and this determination in her eyes, and she says, let's start from the very basics. Let's do a refresher. And she's firing out questions to the class, and the class is throwing their hands up left and right, and I'm looking around thinking, where have I been my entire life? This doesn't sound like Calculus 1. And she starts going through it, and she's ripping through it. And every day she would run into the classroom, and she would be throwing stuff up and asking questions and walking around. And I mean, she was a fanatic. The first exam comes along. I take the exam. I get my grade back. She sets it down. I flip it over, and I see 1-1 side by side. I got an 11. Not 11 right, just a flat out 11. And so I knew the routine. I was going to go down to the dean, get my withdrawal slip, get my professor to sign it, and boom, I'm out of there, take it again next semester. My dean signed it. I walk down to my professor's office. I'm knocking on her door. That door flies open, and she looks at me and she goes, "What can I do for you, young man?" I said, "I am here to drop your class." She says, "You can't." I said, "Oh, yes, I can. The dean signed it. All you got to do." She goes, "You can't." I said, "Yes, I can." She goes, "No, you can't." I said, "Yes, I can." She goes, "No, you can't." I said, "I'm the student that got an 11. She goes, "Oh." I said, "Ma'am, I got talents that you might not ever see." You know? She has this look on her face, and I'm looking at her, and I'm kind of smiling, and she's just looking at me, and she goes, "You cannot drop my class." I said, "Let me repeat what I said. I got an 11. There's no way I can recover from this." She goes, "You can't drop my class, young man, because I haven't even begun to teach you." I said, "You're right. That's what I'm going to tell my dad when he finds out that I'm failing this class. You failed to teach me. It's not fair." She goes, "Young man, you need to show up to my class. You need to be there early to ask questions. You need to raise your hand. You need to get involved. You need to participate. You're going to get a tutor. You're going to come down here any night that you're lost, and you're going to ask me about your homework assignment. I'm going to help you. And you are going to call me if you're at home confused, and I'm going to answer the questions for you. You are going to love Calculus 2, and you will dream about me." I said, "You are absolutely nuts." And she goes, "And you are going to love it." Well, I showed up to class that next day. I get in there, And she starts her own firing the questions out to the class. And she's like, "Do you understand, Bryan?" I said, "No." And she goes, "Well, what are you doing?" And she'd grab me by my shirt, pull me up to the chalkboard, make me write it out. And she's like, "You get it?" I said, "I think so." She'd go, "Good. Now you stand here because you're going to be lost again in 2 seconds." All right. And she'd go to the class. So I spent the entire semester up in front of the class just standing there waving at everybody. Final exam. 500 students in that auditorium. I'm sitting in the very back, and I'm the first person done. My pencil hits that desk, and 499 heads popped up like, "This guy must be brilliant." I'm like, "Indeed I am." And I made my charge down that auditorium. I get down there, and my professor sees me, and she sets down her grading pen, and she looks up at me with this smile like I'm her own child coming down. I mean, this is a lady that invested a tremendous amount of time and effort in helping me get through this class. I get up on the stage, and I physically see her shaking with anticipation. She's like, "Bryan, how did you do?" Handed her my paper and looked her in the eyes and said, "I've never seen this stuff before in my life." And I'm walking down that stage and my mind's thinking, this crazy nuthead lady is going to be in my life another 4 months. This is unbelievable. And I'm walking off that stage. She says, "Bryan, you are horrible in math." I said, "Thank you for building my self-esteem. I'm going to carry that on, to my next class." She goes, "But Bryan, your work ethic and your dedication makes me feel wonderful to have a student in my class like you that works so hard. You keep your head up high and you keep that determination in anything that you do in life." She gave me a thumbs up that day, and she also gave me a C in that class. You see, she pushed me through the process. She pulled me. She took me as far as she possibly could with math. It was not that far at all. But she took me there. She tried. She was a coach. She knew that the talents rested somewhere else. You see that old school approach of, hey, you have to get A's in all these classes or you know what, you're a failure. That doesn't work with these kids today. We're preparing students for career preparation now. And so what we're trying to do is understand that kids aren't always going to go to college. Their talents rest somewhere else. And the kids are asking, what are you teaching me? How is that going to apply to my life? And how can I use this information? And you see, a coach understands that and can make that connection. A coach pushes you in your strengths and helps you with your weaknesses. That's what a Theory C coach does. And that's what you're going to learn about today. How to facilitate the learning in your classroom. How to have that enthusiasm that this teacher had. And that's how you're going to end up making a difference in the lives of others.